Ask me any day my favorite kind of tote bag, I will say embroidered denim tote bags. But what about picking up something down the street? What about my grocery shoppings? What about picking up my toiletries? I would say canvas tote bags. Okay, I decided to make this one that has 2 pockets on the inside where I can put in my phone and put in my money without carrying extra wallets, and I decided to carry along. So baby girl, baby boy, don't go anywhere. Hey lovelies, this is Annie with Annie Marie. So here are the fabrics I'm going to be using, and I've already cut them and they are ready to be sewn. I'm going to be using Calico, which is 100% cotton, unbleached and undyed, and it goes well with the color of this canvas fabric. And canvas, you know, is versatile, tear resistant and robust for everyday use. I love the color combination. Okay, I'm going to be using the 2 of them. Please, the measurement is in the description. So here are the 2 strips of fabrics that I'm going to be using for the handle. I'm going to be folding each of them into 2, iron it out, then fold it into 2 again. Okay, just watch as I do this. All right, fold into 2, iron it, open it up again, fold one side into 2, fold the other side into 2, iron it, and repeat the fold. Okay, until I get to the thickness that I'll be needing for the handle. Just watch what I'm doing here. Right now, if you've not watched my unboxing, demo and review video of this iron that I'm using in this video, you really need to watch it. Okay, this iron is a game changer. Like, if you're not tired, I am tired of always using my gravity electric steam iron. I appreciate it. Okay, it's awesome, but really always using it for small projects like this, nah. Okay, when you have strips to iron, when you have, you know, just simple projects like quilt blocks, I prefer this iron. So the link is in the description. So I'm going to go along and sew the edges of this. Okay, so I'll be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and if you have a compensating foot, you can actually use that here, but I'm using my normal sewing machine foot. Okay, but I'm just saying, if you cannot sew as close to the edge as possible with your normal sewing machine foot and you have a compensating foot, you can use that. Okay, but I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance for both sides of the strip, and here it is. So the next thing I'm going to do is attach it on the inside to the lining. Okay, I can use 10 cm or 11 cm. You can use, you know, any measurement, depends on you, but I'm using 10 cm here, and I'm going to sew along the edge. Now when I get to the handle, I'll make sure that I double stitch on it. This is to secure it and make sure that it doesn't pull out. Okay, so we're going to do that right now. And if you noticed, I am using my wonder clips. I prefer using wonder clips for projects like this instead of pins. Okay, but you can use pins if that's what you have, but I love my wonder clips. Okay, I really do love them. And I'm almost through doing this. And remember, we have 2 handles. Okay, so I'm going to also attach it to the other side of the lining, and there we have it, both of them attached. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to get a canvas strip and attach it along the edge of the lining. Now this is going to cover the hand and the lining. Okay, it's going to be at the top, and we're going to attach them together. So the handle in the middle, the lining down, and the brown canvas strip at the top. So once I get to where the handle is, I will still double stitch to make it strong. All right, so I'm going to do this on both sides of the fabric. I'll do it to this side and then on the other side also. Now when I'm through sewing it, I have to flip it open and do what we call a top stitching along the edge where the lining meets the canvas. Okay, I'm going to do a top stitching right now so that it will lay flat and beautiful. All right, so you can still use the compensating foot here, but I'm still using my normal straight sewing foot that came with my machine. So now I'm done doing the top stitching, and this will make sure that the handle lays flat. All right, now this is the part that I want to use for my inside pocket. Okay, this is the Calico fabric. Now I'm going to fold it into 2, like so. All right, and when I fold it into two like this, I am going to sew along the edges, and I'm going to be leaving a small opening because I'm going to be turning this inside out. All right, so I'm going to leave a small opening that will enable me to turn it inside out. Now I'm not going to be using an off-white or a cream color thread. I'm still going to be using the same color of thread that I use for my canvas fabric. You know why? Because of the aesthetics of it. Okay, I want that contrasting color on the pocket. Okay, so I used one color throughout this project. So now that I'm done, I'm going to snipe off the sides, you know, just to make it lay flat when I turn it inside out. Once I'm done doing this, I'm going to turn it inside out and attach it to the inside fabric. Okay, so let's do that now. Now this is me turning it inside out, making sure that it comes out properly, pulling every side and all the corners, and there it is. So I'm going to sew that place closed. Remember, I left it open because it's going to enable me to flip it inside out. So I'm going to sew it closed before attaching it to the inside fabric. So let's do that right now. Yes. All right, now that I'm done doing this, it's time to attach the pocket. Now the pocket is going to be 8 to 10 cm below the handle and 20 to 25 centimeters down the fabric, then 10 cm away from the edge of the fabric. Now I'm going to sew around the pocket, leaving the top open. Then I'll sew down the middle to create the two sides of the pocket. Now I'm going to be using my pin now, no longer my wonder clips, to hold down the pocket to the fabric. Okay, so that it's not going to shift or move while I sew it down. Now this is my favorite pin holder. I got it from Amazon. The link will be found in the description. So we're going to go through this right now, and you can see the contrasting color I told you about. I mean, it's not looking bad, right? So let's go over and do the sewing. So I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch seam allowance to sew right along the edges. Okay, like I said, if you have compensating foot, this is the time to also use it. It's very good when it comes to sewing this kind of stuff. So I'm done sewing the pockets. Now I'm going to sew down the middle to create these two sides of the pocket. Now let's do that now. So I'm sewing down the middle to create those two pockets, and now that I'm done, this pocket has good depth that it can accommodate anything at all. So here is the main body of the canvas tote bag, and I'll be folding it into 2 equal halves. This is to enable me get the middle of the fabric. Okay, I'm going to be placing my embroidered label in the middle of the canvas bag. Now you can place it maybe 5 cm to 7.5 cm below the edge, but in this particular fabric I experimented. I placed it way lower because I wanted to know how it was going to look like. You know, sometimes you skip using the standard, okay, but really you should use something within 5 cm to 7.5 cm. Okay, so I'm using the compensating foot here. It's normally called edge sewing foot, to attach my label. Okay, it helped me to make it an easy job, and it sewed quite close to the edge, which is actually what you need. All right, there is nothing like 1/4 inch sewing seam allowance here. No, it needs to sew very close to the edge. As you can see, it's looking very neat. Okay, looking well sewn, well put together. Now we're going to place the outer fabric and the lining right sides facing each other. Okay, here I am using my wonder clips again. We're going to pin them together and sew along the edges. Remember, the handle is in between these two fabrics. Okay, so we're going to make sure that the stitches are tight and the stitches are strong enough to hold everything together. So I'm sewing down along the edges, and I'm going to do it on the other side of the fabric also. Okay, the next step is to take up this fabric and fold it in such a way that my lining will go to one side and the canvas, which is the outer part of the fabric, will go to another side with the right sides still facing each other. You can see what I'm doing right here. Okay, now I'm going to be aligning my seams. All right, I'm going to make sure that all the seams, the thick seams, are aligned together, and I'm going to be using my wonder clip to hold them together. This will help me in the process of what I'm doing right now. Okay, now after aligning all the seams, using your pin or wonder clip to hold them together, we're going to be cutting off squares. Now these squares on the four corners of the fabric can be 9 cm or 10 cm, depending on what you really want, you know, how you want your bottom to be. All right, so I've gone ahead to cut off 10 cm on all four corners. All right, 2 on the side of the lining and 2 on the side of the canvas fabric. You can see I cut off 4 squares. Okay, now I'm going to be sewing down both sides of the bag, leaving out where I cut up my squares. Okay, because those parts at the bottom is the bottom of my tote bag. So I'm going to sew down the sides, and then I'm going to use my wonder clip to align those squares and sew a straight line along all 4 edges, because this is going to be my boxed bottom. This is going to be the bottom of the bag. Okay, so I'm going to hold them like that and sew straight lines all through the 4. So this is exactly the way it's going to look on the 4 corners. And just like when we were sewing the pockets, you know, we left an opening where we're going to flip it inside out. In this same case, I also left that same opening because I'm going to be turning this inside out. So once I'm through turning it inside out, I'm going to sew close this opening. All right, so once I am done sewing closed the opening, the next thing I'm going to do is to do a neat top stitching along the edges of the bag opening. Okay, you can see the way it's looking now. Okay, it's looking all ruffled up, it's not looking flat and neat. Okay, so we're going to do a top stitching around the edges of the bag. Now, like I said, you can use the edge sewing foot, which is the compensation foot. I have used my wonder clip once again to hold the edges so that it will lay flat while I sew along the edges. Now once I'm done making sure that the edges are top stitched and they are looking very flat, I'm going to also sew it together with the handle, because the handle needs to lay flat along the edge of the bag. Okay, so now that I'm done doing this top stitching, you can see how flat and neat it's looking. The next thing is to sew it together with the handle. Now there's this type of stitching we do here. Is going to be a little bit like a box. Okay, it's going to be more like edge to edge kind of stitching. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, just across it 4 ways. Okay, and this kind of stitching is really strong. It's going to make this bag very sturdy. Whatever you throw into the bag is going to hold. Okay, no matter the grocery, the toiletries and all whatnot. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. All right, and when I'm done, I'll show you how it looks like. Now this is what I'm talking about. You can see how it goes. All right, and the stitching will be seen more on the inside. Now that I'm done, I'm going to box off the bottom. I know we've done that before, but I'm going to do an outside stitch, more like a top stitching also, to make the bottom more prominent, you know, to look more boxed and, you know, sturdy. All right, now that I'm done, you can see how beautiful this tote bag looks. Okay, so you can see that the logo was a little bit lower than it's supposed to go, so I'm going to stick to the normal standard. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, share your thoughts at the comment section. Don't forget to share and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next tutorial.